Project management in SharePoint. It's very common that people want to use SharePoint for enhancing their SharePoint project management and overall delivery efficiency. But there's a lot of pitfalls, a lot of mistakes, there's a lot of things which are often disjointed when it comes to SharePoint. Hey, it's Dougie Wood. I am a Microsoft MVP and I've been building out SharePoint solutions for organizations all over the world for the past 20 years. So if you need help building out a SharePoint solution, there's a link in the description below to contact me. So here's a real world example of a solution that is basically tying together all the key aspects of a project delivery. Now, I've modeled this on the way that we deliver SharePoint projects, but of course, you could tweak it to any number of ways that you are currently working. When we first land on the page, we would have a bit of a kind of dashboard roll up essentially, and you can dive into more of these areas in a bit more detail. But you can see across the top, we've got the ability to select a particular customer, a particular project that we're currently working on. And that will actually filter down the rest of the page. So we'll have a little look at that in a minute. We can also see there's some quick actions. So let's say, for example, we were onboarding a new project. I might click on that new project button, and that might open a project form for the project list that we see below, and certain information that we might want to tag and track. That's often also the point of where some automations happen. So we're going to look at some folder structures and templated folder structures, but often it's at the point of a new project is actually when those things kick off. We might want to just add a simple contact. So it might just be there's a new contact for a project that we're working on. We want to add them quickly. Or we want to raise a kind of a risk as part of our kind of RAID log as well. Or create a lessons learned. So after each project, or even sometimes during a project, they might learn something and think, actually, we can deliver this better for our customers next time. Let's put a lessons learned down at the beginning of every project, where we start by looking at our lessons learned log, just to make sure there's nothing that we need to implement into the next project. So, as I said before, we select a customer. So let's say, for example, we select Contoso. And once we've done that, you'll see that actually further down, these items are then updating. So we have our projects list. So for Contoso, we currently have 2 projects which are running for them. I'm interested in the knowledge base project. So we're building a knowledge base in SharePoint for our customer to use with Copilot Studio for answering questions. Then further down, we can then see the stage gate. So our projects are broken out into roughly 6 stages. We have a prerequisite stage. And during that stage, we often issue tasks for things like making sure we have access to our customers' Microsoft 365 tenant, that we have all of the kind of meetings that we need with the customer booked in, so they know well in advance what's expected from them and when. We then have the kickoff stage. So this is when we're actually then starting the project. So once we've done all the prerequisites and we've got everything we need, we can actually kick off the project. And we usually do this with an actual kickoff call with the client. And then we move into the build phase. So the build phase is then where we're actually building things, deploying any solutions that we need to, that type of thing. We then move into internal testing. So internal testing is essentially where we would test whatever it is that we've built. And then we have UAT, which is user acceptance testing, where we then hand over to our customer to say, hey, what do you think of this? Please try it and give us any feedback. And as long as it's in scope, we do make some small tweaks and changes as well. And then we have a closeout process where we typically then speak to them and ask them for a case study, for example, or something along the lines of that. So these are all the different areas. But as I say, this will be totally different for you. You're going to have different stage gates for your projects, and it's nice and easy to configure. We can see who the owner of the different stages are, who the approver of each stage is. So once we go through each stage, we also want to have an approver to sign off to say, yes, we're happy with this, and we can move on to the next stage. We have what we need for prerequisites. We can move on to the kickoff side of things. So we often typically have more than one person that's involved in that process, just to make sure nothing's been forgotten, everything is as we need. And I say a decision on this. So yes, we're moving forward between the different stages, or no, we're on hold for internal testing. Maybe that we found an issue, or there's something that's preventing us from moving on to the customer from testing this. Further down, we then have our contacts. So these are contacts for the actual project. And I've just got names in here, but typically you'd also have, the real world system, the phone numbers, email addresses, anything like that you might want to build into this. And then we have our documents. As I say, when we create a new project, we would create a new folder, which comes from a folder structure. So it's automatically going to have the same folders and files that we need for every single project. It's always going to be structured the same way. So by clicking on that, you can then see we have a predetermined folder structure, which is basically pre-sales. So anything that we're doing with a customer, sending them any mock-ups, proposals, anything like that, we put in our kind of pre-sales area. Then for every project that we run, we have a workshop with our customer. So that's basically where we're scoping out requirements with them, documenting anything in a user specification document. And that's where we give them the kind of final proposal of what we're planning on delivering, and all of that goes into the kind of workshop stage. We then have build, so if there's anything, any imagery, if there's any kind of example data or anything like that we're using as part of the build, we store that in there. Then test, that's where we store our kind of test logs and test procedures, test scripting, things like that. Training, any training material, so everything that we do with our customers, we provide training alongside that, and we record it, so we can save it as videos, and then we can share it to them, so they can access that training afterwards. And then anything support, so if there's anything we need to hand over to our support team, we store that there, so it's nice and easy for them to access. So we have this kind of drill down. I say we can have subfolders within that. We could have documents within that already. So things like with our workshop, typically we have the same template we always use for a workshop, so we could store that alongside that folder. Just make it nice and easy to access all that information as and when we need it. And then further down at the bottom, we've got things like our RAID log. So if there's any risks or issues, so let's say, for example, Dynamics 365 partner is unaware of SharePoint. So it's very common that we work alongside other Microsoft partners where they maybe are providing services for things like Dynamics 365, and we are the SharePoint experts. As the SharePoint specialists, we're brought in. However, a common sort of risk that we have flagged before is that the Dynamics 365 partner is unaware of kind of SharePoint, and basically we need to make sure that they understand how it works, how the integration works, and we kind of mitigate the risk that something could go wrong on their side because they haven't fully understood what we're building on our side. So that's just an example of a potential risk. And then further down, we've got lessons learned. So I say this might be anything we've logged along the way of the project, but all of this is actually logged inside of its own list. So although I'm currently looking at lessons learned and RAID items which are based on this particular project that we've selected, we can always see a full list of them as well. So if I was to scroll, say, up to the top, you can see we've got this navigation bar, which makes it nice and easy to access those different documents. As I was saying before, I don't have to filter necessarily by like a project to go and find this information. All this information is actually stored within its own kind of document library or its own list. So we can always drill into that information. Let's say, for example, under here, we can see project templates for Contoso knowledge base. I can always drill into that and see this information in a document library. And this is the way that it presented if I was to ever sync it and open up inside a File Explorer, just an example. All those lists, as I say, like accounts, contacts, RAID logs, stage gates, all of those are configured as their own kind of independent lists. So if I wanted to go and see all the risks across all projects, I don't need to go and filter, or I don't have to even view it in that small kind of list. Obviously, there's a lot more data that we're capturing about our risks, which are too much to maybe display on that kind of homepage. So we can have a full log here, so we can see all of our different risks. I could maybe just filter this list to say, actually, across all of our projects, show me all of the kind of risks that we have. And there we go. These are the two kind of top kind of risks that we have on our overall projects. We could look at what's the most likely thing to happen. So again, we could look at high impact, likelihood. So those are the two things which are most likely to happen. Not a great example because they're the same thing, but you see what I mean. We can drill down and we can figure a lot of this stuff out by using these filters. And then again, we've got lessons learned here, which is a full list. So these are all the lessons learned across all of the different projects. We could do things like grouping by phase. So, for example, we could group by the different phases and say, actually, show me everything which is a lesson learned from pre-sales or from testing or wherever it is, and we can actually group those together. Obviously, this is just a proof of concept. So basically a demo environment, so it doesn't have a lot of real world kind of data in here, but you could see it'd be much easier to see all of our lessons learned across everything. Maybe something else that we would add into here that we've done for our live system is having a column for status. So basically whether or not it's been actioned. So we've learned something. Have we implemented it? Have we put it into our processes? Is it something that we are now following versus something which is still outstanding? Check out the video on screen for another real world example of how SharePoint lists are being used to build out real solutions to business challenges. Of course, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it a like and subscribe. It really does help my channel grow, and it means that you'll get notified about any new content which is being released. If you have any questions, use the comments feed below. I do my very best to answer everybody's questions. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.